All right, so how many hours do we have? 48? Okay, 48 hours to the key game in Kigali between the Super Eagles and, of course, the Amavubi of Rwanda. 94.9, 32 FM, welcome. I am Peter Omo. I've got SAMIES here with me. We're building up, we're counting down. So all you need to know from Kigali, we will let you in on everything happening. And, of course, don't forget, away from that, there will also be World Cup qualifying on the continent later today from 5 p.m. And some will look for a win to consolidate on what they're doing and just maybe open their legs and see where they will be. They want to go to US, they want to go to Mexico, they want to go to Canada for the next World Cup. And for those who are not on the continent, they will be busy with some UEFA Cup games. And of course, that will be across Europe. So for the next few days, your club football will take a little break and then we'll get international assignments coming up in the next few hours. Simon is here with me. He will help me, tell me players in camp. I know that everyone is in camp. This is what you get when there's a new sheriff in town. Everybody wants to do eye service. You get to camp on time. You don't want to waste any time. You don't want to, let the coach or the manager sees you as a bad boy. Yeah, I think that is good. Only we can continue in this. But it's a 2-game. And we've said it so many times that if we don't get a win in one of the 2 games, just count. Some say, just count ourselves out of the World Cup and prepare for the Nations Cup, which, of course, we've qualified for. So for 𝐿𝐿, it's over to him. We were looking for a win. And something keeps telling me that we might just win this game. But let me just, don't jinx it. Let me just keep quiet. But from the signs and from what that inner thing, let me use that word, even though it is the inner man telling me that we might just get this win and get it. I can't remember the last time the Super Eagles will go camp away from home. Usually, we stay somewhere before we head straight to the venue of the game. But they've been there since Sunday, Monday, and that's quite good. You get to acclimatize, understand how things work in Rwanda, and have a feel of the weather. The players are all there. Not that we have 2 days to the game. You see players walking to the team. That was what we saw under the previous managers. So this one, everybody's in town. So maybe that's the kind of feeling that you want the Eagles to always go into all games with. And maybe because this one is crucial. If we had won our opening games, maybe the boys will be coming here 2-3 days to the game. But they now know the importance of this game. How can you go to the World Cup without Victor Osimhen? How can you go to the World Cup without the African Player of the Year, reigning African Player of the Year, Ademola Lookman? How can you go to the World Cup without who again? You keep giving me those names where you are. I can't imagine it. And I don't want that to happen. So this boys is over to them. Over to SAMIES.
It's definitely a great time to be here once again, especially on this side, to come talk about sporting stories. And just like you mentioned, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the only man we were expecting from this time yesterday was Alassane Youssouf. And I could tell you that he took part in the late training session that went down yesterday. And of course, the boys went through another training session this morning. So also the 3 invited players are in camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Sadiq Umar and Alassane Youssouf are the last to join in. And maybe we could talk about Alassane Youssouf, the constraints in which he faced. The US coming down to the continent of Africa. That's actually going to take him quite a time. And he definitely was with the boys late last night and also in the early hours of today. But there you mentioned about, maybe because we have a new sheriff in town, I actually played for yesterday Osimhen's interview with John Obi Mikel, where he said he had the conversation with 𝐶𝐈𝐒𝐿, the new Super Eagles head coach, where he discussed everything with him that maybe he's going to be the front runner for everything he wants to achieve with the Super Eagles. And then he said that 𝐶𝐈𝐒𝐿 particularly told him that he is going to yell, he's going to shout at him, just to make it an example, and also maybe to other big boys in the squad.
Hold on. That part is what I want to take you on. So, he's telling him that, Oga, me I go shout to.
Yes.
Me I will go fight to.
We are going to fight.
So this one is like,
it's for the good of the team.
Yes, preparing him to say,
yes,
don't go about ranting. Don't go to your Instagram page and go rant at me, because I'm telling you now that, guy, we'll go fight.
Well, I think, yes, he made mention of that. And I think for 𝐿𝐿, maybe he has done the beats he wants to do. And that's in terms of, acclimatizing himself with the players. Remember, while the season was still going on, before this break, he went to some venues to watch all of these players, if not all of them, a few of them. He went to watch them play. He went to France. He watched Akko Adams. He watched these guys. He watched all of them play. Moses Simon.
Yeah.
He was in England. He watched Wilfred Ndidi. He was in Spain. He watched all of these players. And so I think he has done it quite well for himself. And the good thing he also did was that he was at the reception of the hotel, the team's hotel, to actually welcome all the players. He was at the gate. He was the gatekeeper, welcoming all the players into the camp. And I think that's also a good one for 𝐶𝐈𝐒. And just like it's been said, well, it's going to be so sad if the Super Eagles of Nigeria don't get to qualify for yet another edition of the FIFA Men's World Cup. Because I look at the list that we have from the last time we participated at the World Cup in 2018 there in Russia. How many players were in that squad? And how many of them do we have within the Super Eagles squad now? We have William Troost-Ekong. Who else do we have? I don't think a name comes. Okay, Wilfred Ndidi. Nobody comes again. You talk, okay, Alexander Iwobi also.
The last time we played at the World Cup.
Last time we played at the World Cup. Then you look at all the other players. And now we have 3 different goalkeepers. We talk about Ezenweden. We talk about Nzoro. We talk about Akpeyi. Now that's a different scenario.
Hold on.
Now.
That which you said now about 3 or 4 players that were the last World
Cup 2018.
2018.
Yes.
Shouldn't this be like a motivation to, like I mentioned the other time, you can't imagine the World Cup without Victor Osimhen, without Ademola Lookman, without Victor Boniface, without who again? Some of these key elements in the team.
Yeah, maybe William Troost-Ekong. Yes,
yeah.
He is at the prime of his game.
Yeah, so
you mentioned his name.
Shouldn't that be like a motivation to go into these 2 games and get a win? Because you can't imagine how old is Victor Osimhen now. If he doesn't go to the World Cup in 2026, someone will say, God forbid. Then we'll have to wait to 2030. How old will he be by then? When, we've seen 19, 20 who have been to World Cup or have been going to World Cup. And that would be unfair. Though you have to say, Mommy, you have to get the work done for you to go to the World Cup. But let me allow you to finish your
The
thoughts.
question I would ask now, or I keep asking myself is, how did he get it wrong over 2 legs against the Black Stars of Ghana? A weak Ghanaian squad in the year 2021.
That was just in the Guavon.
Yes, how did he get it all wrong? Because you look at those crop of players now, most of them are still within the setup for this 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Maybe what we lacked then was that the unity, the brotherhood from all of these players. Now things have really gone tough for the players, and maybe we are seeing the importance of all of this because now that's a pop artist in Nigeria. Well, he said he loves the energy he's getting from what he's seeing from this present Super Eagles squad. And so I hope that these players are put onto the field the hard work, and not to forget that this season, individually, most of these players, they've done so well for themselves. I watched Calvin Bassey over the weekend against Tottenham Hotspur. I watched Ola Oluwaina. Let me say I've been watching Ola Oluwaina this season alone in England. Maybe he has the best defensive stats. You talk about Osimhen. He got a hat-trick before he came on board for Galatasaray. Ademola Lookman, 3rd on the goal-scoring chart. That's in Italian Serie A. You talk about Akko Adams, also in the Belgian Jupiler League. He's doing so well for himself.
He's in Seville now.
No, not Akko Adams now. Tolu Arokodare. Tolu Arokodare. Then you look at all other players. Moses Simon. Yes, he keeps getting his assists for nonce, but the team, they are struggling. But he keeps thriving as an individual performer. That's within the side. Wilfred Ndidi also performing. Then you look at some other key factors. How do we really get out of this?
One department you have not mentioned.
The goalkeeping department?
Yes, you've not mentioned
that.
For
the goalkeeping department, I think for last year, it was a revelation to have Stanley Wabali on board.
But we know he has not been the best so far this season.
Mentally.
Since the demise of his parents.
Yeah, that's why I said mentally. Everything that he has faced, you would think he was going to go for a sabbatical. Let me just take off time and think about everything that I've gone through in the space of a year.
Yeah.
Eyes. Just, maybe not eyes. I'll say eye. And so many downs for Stanley Wabali.
Right.
Getting an invitation into the Super Eagles squad. But then, at what extent? The death of his parents I remember that he came to camp, and then the following morning he learned about the death of his mother, so he had to leave camp.
Right.
So you talk about that. Hopefully, Stanley Nwabali is going to be in the right mind and see to the importance of this game. And it will also take me back to the first 2 games we played in this World Cup qualifiers. We had Francis Uzoho in goal, and we saw the goals in which Francis Uzoho conceded in those 2 games. In those 2 games, a free kick from where? A set piece from where? So we question all of these things. Let's just hope that the coach, he has everything in order at this point, and the players fight for themselves on the field of play. This is my brother. When you're down, I pick you up. We run after the ball, and that is one thing 𝐿 has said, that if you're not running after the ball, you're not going to be in my team.
Okay. So I don't want big men. That's what he's saying. You don't lose the ball and you just keep walking and just use I don't care thing. So SAMIES mentioned something about Stanley Nwabali. He lost his parents, and I think the parents will be happy if he can find his way to the World Cup. I mean, if you ask the folks why they were alive, one of the things they will wish for their son is for them to see him play in the biggest competition in the world, which is of course the World Cup. So Nwabali, you put that aside and go to that game, those 2 games, and see what you do. Now, talking about what they've done so far, the Eagles are in Group C with Rwanda, South Africa, Benin Republic, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe. And at the moment, Rwanda are top with 7 points. They've got a good goal difference. Than South Africa have got the same number of points, and Benin Republic also same number of points. Don't forget, we drew our first 3 games and we lost 1 to Benin Republic. An interesting game was played in the neutral ground, and we scored first in that game, but we lost by 2-1. Lesotho on 5 points, Nigeria on 3 points, and Zimbabwe is on 2 points. We'll pay some bills. When we come back, we'll talk more and tell you the games that will be going down later today. And of course, we head straight to Indian Wales, Miami rather. We're done with Indian Wales. We head straight to Miami and check up what happened yesterday and what will happen today, ATP 1000 and WTA 1000.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM, 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Tí wọ́n bá bi ọ́ léèrè pé kí o dárúkọ eré ìdíje géèmù mánigbàgbé tó dángájá, bẹ̀tánù ni ìdáhùn rẹ̀ lọ́jọ́kọ́jọ́. Ó yá tààrà ṣàṣà kí ìwọ náà bá wọn jẹ àǹfààní nínú géèmù alárinrin tó fanimọ́ra ní ìpele pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà igba 200,000 owó ìkíni káàbọ̀ àti àwọn ẹ̀bùn mìíràn bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. bẹ̀tánù ayò ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ báyìí. Forí pípẹ́ tayò yìí o, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòrí ọmọ ọdún 18 lọ sókè. Alájọṣepọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ Aston Villa ni wá.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
All right, so let's second half of the show quickly here. And still staying with the World Cup qualifiers on the continent. In Group A, Egypt, they've got 10 points. The top ahead of the likes of Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. And in Group B, Sudan, Senegal, DR Congo, Togo, and Sudanese. They are top with their Ghanaian head coach doing well for them, also qualified them for the Nations Cup. And at the moment, they've got 3 wins from 4 games yet to lose. So Sudan top in Group B. In Group C, I mentioned Rwanda. In Group D, there's Cameroon. They've got 8 points. Libya, Cape Verde, Angola, Mauritius, and Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, in that order. And in Group E, Morocco, yes, I repeat, Morocco, they've got 3 wins from 3 games. They sit 9 points. They're going to that game again this coming days. In the coming days, and Niger, Tanzania, Zambia, and Congo. And in Group F, Ivory Coast, African champions, they've got 10 points from 4 games. Gabon, Burundi, Kenya, with Benny McCartney in charge. Gambia and Seychelles. In Group G, Algeria with 9 points from 4 games. Mozambique, Botswana, Guinea, Uganda, Somalia. And in Group H, Tunisia, Namibia. Tunisia on 10 points, Namibia on 8 points. Liberia on 7 points, Malawi on 6 points. And in Group I, that's the last, Comoros Island, 9 points. Ghana, 9 points. Ghana will be looking for a ticket. The SAMIES, the first to qualify for the Nations Cup. This World Cup, they don't want to lose ground. They got the same number of points with the team that have made them suffer in the last few editions of the Nations Cup. And here we are, both again in the World Cup qualifier. They've both got 9 points, and Madagascar on 7 points. So for quickly, SAMIES, for the Ghanaians. It's Comoros sitting ahead of them in that last group for the World Cup.
Well, for Ghana, Otoado has rallied for support. He had it bad for himself.
So they kept him. They kept Otoado.
Yes. They kept him.
They tried.
Well, he has the European experience, but at what detriment? You are not fighting.
Maybe
for
maybe they don't have the money to get a new foreign. They don't have anyone inside that can help them, and they felt maybe the players.
The question why did they let go of Chris Hughton then?
He was just a technical advisor for the team going to the World Cup.
Maybe there are lots of things that are actually happening within a Ghanaian football federation.
His backroom staff. He's got the former Middlesbrough who is Ghanaian, but he's got the Dutch passport. What's his name now? Boateng. That's his name. Yes, I remember I played for Middlesbrough, played for Aston Villa, doing his things in the English Premier League, and of course he's a Dutch. But you know that name when you hear Boateng, he's a Ghanaian. It's part of his backroom staff. Yeah. John Pinstill also. Am I right? John Pinstill also is part of the backroom staff. The former Black Stars player who played at the World Cup in 2010 when the Black Stars was almost going to qualify for the semi-final of the World Cup that year, but they lost to Uruguay in the quarterfinal. So maybe his backroom staff had reached enough, and then so they just felt they should allow him stay. Today, 5 p.m. in Group World Cup qualifier, Eswatini will play against Cameroon. Of course, I mentioned the other time that these are the same group. Liberia will play against Tunisia, same 5 and 5 also. South Africa Republic will play against Madagascar. Those are 3 games on the continent, and those games will be from 5 later today. So, SAMIES, let's jump over and talk about some other headlines in the world of sports as we begin to wrap up on the show. Let's talk about Miami Open, and we'll come wrap up with some football news before we go on the show. So, SAMIES for Miami, it was Naomi Osaka speaking the last few hours how he wants to rub minds with the big girls. I don't want to say big boys now. Play with them and win. You can imagine she won. One of the Grand Slams she won that comes to mind every time was her beating Serena Williams in that final and the drama that played out that night. Former world number 1 Naomi Osaka wants to play with the big dogs again after battling to a 3-set win against Julia Starrett's Pizza. In the first round of the Miami Open, Osaka came from a set down as the worst match I've ever played in her life, just quoting what the Japanese said. The 4-time Grand Slam winner has had several breaks from playing to prioritize her mental health as well as a maternity break. She has not progressed past the 3rd round of a major since our most recent triumph at the 2021 Australian Open. Indian Wells, she said, I was just overheating a lot, so I tried to use my legs. So, SAMIES, that's
in a female tennis. But now, you can understand that in a female tennis. But now, you can understand that all of these things for the women, it might be quite difficult. But you also look at it that they've actually gone through it and they did so great for themselves. An example is the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus. You talk about Billie Jean also, who also did so well for herself. But then for Naomi Osaka, as she has come out to say, at her best, you know that she's going to give anybody a run for their talent and also their ability. So it is one thing I want to see from Naomi Osaka, if she can go all the way and then put everything into action. I want to see her back. She had the name before most of these ladies who are playing now. She had the name, but where are we finding her now? And the same also relates to Leylah Fernandez. What is wrong with Leylah Fernandez as well? Will I call it a young final where we say 17-year-old against a 19-year-old in the finals of the US Open. So all of these things, I wanted it to come together. The ladies should actually pull up a good string of performance and get to the top of their game. So for Naomi Osaka, I really hope that she can be injury-free and get at her A game. The last one, 2021 Australian Open, where she progressed past the 3rd round, and she has not done anything better than that. So hopefully she can do that in this the remainder of the tennis competitions for this year.
So before we go, let me also quickly let you know that you stand a chance of winning 10,000 if you can just follow this instruction. Quite simple. Yes, simple for you to get 10,000 once you've got 200, a little over 200. It all depends on how what you've got in your account. Have you heard about the Cocoa Box draw on this die? We've been doing this for weeks now, so we're not done yet, and it's going to continue for some time. So just to make it very simple for you, you can help yourself, get your mobile phone and just go about it this way. *347 *253#. Once you do that, follow the prompt. It's quite easy, and I've had people talk about when they get to a point, they begin to see the name of the bank. Yes, the name of the bank is Paystack, and it's not your usual bank, it's not your usual commercial bank, but hey, it's a fintech. So you just go there, run through that channel, and if you want to play more than once, if you want to play twice, that makes it 400. If you want to play thrice, that makes it 600. And what are you waiting for? Just this afternoon, about an hour ago, 5 people won cool 10,000 naira, and in the next few hours more 5 will win. So what are you waiting for? Because the next draw will come up between 5 to 6 when they will be here, and so when they're on air, we'll just roll the dice again and see the winner. So I'll help you with that one more time. *347 *253#. Once you do that on your mobile phone, any kind of mobile phone, some is just it doesn't browse, so you don't need to browse this one. Making it very simple for you, and just follow it, and then you just see Paystack, and then you just get down and just register. So what are you waiting for? Make that happen on time, and of course you stand a chance, like I said, to win 10,000 naira. So SAMIES, this is the international window, and we know how these things work. But let's talk about the Women UEFA Champions League. Last night there were 2 games, and Real Madrid, playing at home, won against Arsenal Football Club by 2-0 in that game last night. The second leg coming up next week, Wednesday. Tonight, 2 English giants will do battle for the last place of this season's Women UEFA Champions League. Manchester City will be up tonight against Chelsea. SAMIES, this is not WSL, this is UEFA Champions League.
Well, all right. So these have been the UEFA Women's Champions League. Well, I look at it and I say that for Chelsea and Manchester City, well, the coming weeks, let's say from Saturday, it has been battle for both sides. Facing off, that's in the final where Chelsea won by 2-1. Then they'll face off over 2 legs in the UEFA Women's Champions League, and then they will play in the Women's Super League also. That's in the space of 3 weeks. They are playing against each other. But the sad news for Manchester City now is that Fujino, the Japanese woman who scored for Chelsea, for Manchester City rather, over the course of the weekend, alongside 𝐃𝐈𝐒. Well, when I mentioned 𝐃𝐈𝐒, you know she's getting the goals for Manchester City.
The Jamaican.
Yeah, she's a prolific striker, and she's doing everything so well for herself. Now she's going to be out of action for Manchester City just in this encounter. And then you begin to ask for Chelsea. I think they actually have their way. You look at how they've progressed in the UEFA Women's Champions League. Finals, semi-finals, and then look at it that what is it that has eluded them? How can they win this title? Hopefully they can get it right and get all the way to the finals and win the UEFA Women's Champions League. But injuries are definitely is going to be hampering that's 𝐃𝐈𝐒 and Fujino. That's in this year's that's in the first leg for this encounter. But you mentioned of Real Madrid defeating Arsenal yesterday. That is going to be the fixtures also for the men's quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League.
Yeah.
But then we've questioned that the pitch in which the game was played, it was maybe not of the best.
That's the Stefano Stadium.
It was not at the best condition for the players. They are world-class players. They are professionals. And I think they should be treated more like a professional. But for Lyon yesterday...
So you probably would have said, why don't you take the game to the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium?
Maybe. Because at this point, there is no men's football at that stadium. Yeah. And it should actually... Because I don't think for the UEFA Men's Champions League, they'll be playing at the Emirates Stadium. So why can't we have that game also at the
this is that's because you have the Emirates play host the Arsenal women team.
No, the bridge also. No, they have different. There are times Arsenal don't play at the Emirates Stadium.
Yeah, I get, but that for Spain might be a different ball game. They might have the reason not allowing the women play their game there. Bar, if they want to play Barcelona female team, you know the numbers are always crazy. So yesterday also, like someone was going to say, Olympic Lyon have won this 8 times. They went to Germany and they won against Bayern Munich ladies by 2-0 today. One more quarterfinal games apart from the one between Manchester City and Chelsea. There will be one in Wolfsburg, and that will be Wolfsburg women playing against Barcelona women. That Barcelona women team, they can blow anyone away. The only thing that can probably stand them to some extent, Barcelona women's team.
Okay.
The only team that can stand them, I think, is Olympic Lyon. To some extent, because 8-time champion.
Did you say Lyon?
Yeah, I said Lyon. I can say it again. I said Lyon.
Barcelona defeated them in the finals last season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the only thing that can stand them, not beat them, but I can stand them, is Olympic Lyon.
But
That's
you
for
can
me.
also look at the progression of Barcelona feminine side also. I think it's also been at the I ranks.
Yeah.
When we talk about the
Yeah,
Champions.
just also to remind you that at a point in time, Oshola was playing in that team and she was scoring even from the bench, but now she's gone to the US. So that's the much we can take on the show this afternoon. We'll see you guys again by grace on Thursday morning. That will be Scoreboard in 15. And of course, don't forget, once it's 5, Crystal will be here with his team. That will be for Iggy. We'll make a return on Thursday, 3:30. And of course, when we come by then, will be 24 hours to the big game in Kigali between Rwanda and the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I am Peter Omo.